Okay, now go to the Start menu and either start Adobe Dreamweaver 6 here or go to All Programs and start it from here. Okay, once Dreamweaver starts, you'll be presented with this interface. What we want to do is we want to create a new HTML file. So I'll click on HTML file and then it starts here. Notice that it's titled Untitled 1. So what I want to do is I want to save this, and I can either use save or save as. It doesn't really matter which one because it has not been named yet. So what I want to do is I want to create or place it into a folder. I'm going to create a new folder called Lesson 1. I'm going to save it in that folder, and I'm going to change the name of the document to placeholder. Notice there's no spaces in the file name, and so I'll click Save. So now notice up here it's called placeholder.htm. Now what I want to do is I want to add an image placeholder into here. So if I go to the Insert menu, go to Image Objects, go to Image Placeholder, it will bring up this dialog box. So what I want to do is I want to change the name to Logo, which eventually I'll put the logo there once the person that designs it gets us our logo. I will change the width to 250. I'll change the height to 100. I change the color. Notice I can pick the colors that I want. It allows you to choose various colors, and I want to choose, you can choose any color you want. It really doesn't matter. So I'll pick a color here. Okay, I have here the first two are for red, the next two are for green, and the last two are for blue. Now this is in hexadecimal, so when we're in the base 10 system, this would represent, right here, this 3 would represent 30, right, because we have 33. But since we are in hexadecimal, this is the 16th place, so I would multiply 3 times 16, get 48, add 3 to it, it's 51. So this is a 51 intensity out of a possible 256. Over here, and that's for the blue component. Over here, this is the green component. C represents the value, A is 10, B is 11, C is 12. So I would have 12 times 16, and then I'm going to add 12 again. So 12 times 16 is 160, 192 plus 12, 204. So the intensity is 204 out of 255. The highest intensity we could have would be to put FF here. And that would represent the highest intensity I could have for that particular component. Now for alternate text, this will be displayed if for some reason the browser of the person cannot display that particular image. So put here company logo. So I'll click OK. So notice that we have our logo here, and it tells how big it is, and notice it's the green color. Notice also down here are the properties for that particular one. Over here we have the ideal logo. Remember, we typed in the name logo. Here we have the width of 250. Here we have the height of 100. And then later on we'll learn how to do the source and link and target for things. Now this is in design view. Notice what we see in our browser is going to be exactly this. What we want to do in this class is not only to be able to design it, but understand the code. So I'm going to switch to code view by clicking on code. Now all HTML documents begin with this line at the top here. Notice it says doc type HTML. It starts with a less than sign, then an exclamation point. That tells the browser what type of document this is. So we're in HTML, and this tells us here which standards that we apply to that particular one. All right, so that's what these first two lines represent. Then we have a header. Here, this is another HTML tag. All HTML tags have angular brackets around them. So we have a less than, we have a greater than, and notice all the letters in here are lowercase. We want all of these to be in lowercase, and Dreamweaver puts that in lowercase for us. Now, this is the opening HTML tag. Notice we have a corresponding closing tag. We always need a closing tag with an opening tag. And also notice this has a slash in front of it. This represents the close, and the rest of it is the exact same as the opening. Right? Next is the title of the document. When you open it in the browser, this title will be shown, and we'll see later on how to change this particular thing. And that ends the header section. The body section is the part that you actually see when you go into design view. So the body section is this area over here. So here we have another HTML tag, image source, right? We have no source. We have the alternate thing that will appear, the alternate label that will appear. We have the name of that image source. We have the width and height. That way when the browser goes to load it, it knows how big to reserve it, and then it'll download it later after it does the rest of the page. It tells the background color, and that's the background color that we chose earlier. And notice the slash at the end of this closes that image source tag. So everything is enclosed in this one is this particular image source. Then we close the body. That's the end of our body. That's all we had. And then we close our HTML document to tell the browser that's the end of our document. So you should be able to read this now, and you'll need to learn what each of these codes represent as we go through. So now that we've done that, we want to go back up to and save the file. Notice up here we have the asterisk. This represents that we made changes to it since we last saved it. Now you can save it in, whether you're in code view or design view, it doesn't really matter. It saves the exact same thing into the file. It actually saves the code that you see. So here we'll click save because I want to save it to the same file name, and notice that asterisk is no longer there. So this is how you do example 1 with a little bit additional explanation. And if you have questions, I will make a forum up where you can ask your questions on this.